Let's start this bulletin from the north, where torrential rains have left parts of the region submerged. The downpour, which lasted for about 3 hours yesterday, left scores of people trapped in their homes for hours. It took a joint team of personnel of the National Disaster Management Organization and the Ghana Fire Service to rescue some of them. This morning, there are fears by some residents that their situation may be aggravated should Burkina Bay authorities go ahead with their planned spillage of the Bagre Dam. We'll take you there live and speak to our correspondents. But first, let's bring back a report filed by my colleague Martina Bugri, who was also affected by the rains.
Of daring residents who waded through the flood waters to safer areas in their neighborhood. Residents say massive efforts was put in by the fire service to rescue some residents who were trapped in their homes.
Yes, we were compelled to invite Ghana National Fire Service to come to our favor, or else we could have been able to rescue people from their homes, including children, adults. Look at that house standing over there, full of adults. They couldn't be able to come out. We were compelled to invite fire service together with NATO to come and help us save lives. And indeed, they have done it. We were able to rescue. They swam up to that house and rescue all those people.
How many people did they rescue?
6 people and about 4 children. Well, it took them time because they needed to make risk assessments, which way they can use to get into the main homes so they can get the people. Getting the right path into the houses was very difficult. It took them time. So they have to race and then just get a search and then manage and get to the house.
A house collapsed in the Four neighborhood whilst motorbikes were swept away. A commuter said he was almost swept off by the flood waters too. Some residents called on government to intervene.
Yes, today is my first time. That's my route. I'm working down there. Since this is my first time, I didn't see some before on this road. So I crossed first bridge, that was the second bridge. So I reached the middle and I saw that the rain want to push me inside the hole. So I returned back that I should come back and come and wait here. So after the rain, the erosion go down so that I continue my journey.
It's not be easy because as of today, none of us can go to Tamale. Any attempt, you may even lose your life. As we can see evidence I think the incumbent MP house has been flooded. Mutawaki, former MP for Damangu, the house has been flooded. And so many houses, we can think of thousands of houses, has been got stranded. They can't even come out of their houses. So we are actually pleading for government intervention.
For Mr. Dan and Mr. Mumini Zakaria, they want government investigate engineers who supervised the construction of a bridge 2 months ago they believe triggered the heavy floods this afternoon.
Bridge constructed not less than 6 months now. In fact, look at the flooding there. When they were even working on it, we asked them to make sure the gravel goes up. But now they have just wasted government money because now when you come to see the place, the one bridge alone cannot serve the road. People have blocked up the other side and the other side again. A lot of people have blocked up. So what we need is that the government should come out and make sure any engineer who supervises work and the work doesn't go proper, they should query him. Other than that, Ghana will never develop. We are just wasting government money.
3 solid bridges. It takes the water from Garaba Lodge, it takes water from Agric, it takes water from community and other link roads. Now this small bridge, how can it contain the water? We're just lucky that the rain has subsided. Assuming it continues. Now people's homes are submerged. That's submerged in water. You know. So it's time government make sure that when they are allocating or they are giving projects, they make sure the right person gets the project and do a proper job so that at the end it will save Ghana a lot of money. But if you do shoddy work, it is our money they will use to pay them, and then the next moment we have to call for another project. It doesn't make sense.
And even as residents count their losses this morning, the Ghana Meteorological Agency is warning of more rains ahead as they urge residents to brace themselves. Joshua Asamoah speaks for the agency.
What makes Tamale's case peculiar is that the storm stagnated over that area for a very long time before it drifted to the Upper West and Savannah regions. So the heavy rains they had was because of the stagnation of the storm, which affected the northern portions of the country over Tamale and more areas in the northern region before it went to the Savannah and Upper West regions. So it's conditions that they will be experiencing because they are still in the rainy season over the northern portions. So it's not really an odd situation, but I think just like the man on the ground said, there are some factors that are local and activities by man which will cause some of these flooding events to occur, but the rainfall that occurred was not really out of the ordinary.
Now, before the northern region of Tamale had its rain yesterday, we've had some rain as well in the Upper West region where we saw some roads and all that damaged. Would you say it still has to do with the rainy season because the rains were quite heavy?
Yes, it still has to do with the rainy season. The rainy season, Northern Ghana has one rainy season. So it starts somewhere in June, July, there, and then goes all the way to September before it subsides, and then they enter into the dry season. But for us in the south, we get two rainy seasons. The major one will come in April, May, June, and then we'll get a break around July, August before we enter into the minor rainy season in September, October, and November. So before we will enter into our minor rainy season, the north will continue to be experiencing some of these rains. And then the Upper West rains came in August, which is still the peak of the rainfall season in the northern sector. So it's still the rains they are getting because they are in their peak rainfall season. It's nothing really. It's very likely we'll get another rainstorm this week. Hopefully between Wednesday and Thursday.
Despite fears from some residents that their situation may be aggravated should Burkinabe authorities go ahead with their planned spillage of the Bagre Dam, NADMO says they are well prepared to cushion the impact of the spillage should it happen. Northern Regional Director Al-Hassan John Kweku gave this assurance on the AM show.
We are still in the midst of the rains, and then the education too is ongoing. So we are appealing to residents, especially those of our people who are living in those areas that are likely to be affected and the flood-prone areas, to be cautious about their own life, because it is important they take their lives very seriously so that we don't lose any life longer. For instance, in the Chelponi area, there was a situation where some 3 young ladies went to do washing in a stream. And then after they have done the washing, then they decided to swim, and then the water carried them away. And then in Bumpuru, for instance, a woman and the daughter went to farm, and then on their return, there was heavy downpour. Instead of them to stay at a particular place for the water to recede in the river before they cross, they attempted crossing, and the water carried them away. So we are just appealing to residents. Water is not something that we can be playing with. So when it is raining, you get a place to stay so that when the water recedes, then you can go about your normal work. But for now, in the East region, even though it is raining in Gambaga, the situation is under control. NADMO is positioning itself strategically to deal with any situation that will arrive as a result of this. But the impact, the spillage has not been done yet. And we are monitoring the situation. As and when we get any other information, then we'll share with you.
Okay, so let's touch base with our Northern Regional correspondent, Martina Bugri, who was also affected by the rains. She joins us on the phone. Good morning, Martina.
Hi, good morning.
Okay, so what's the situation at Tamale this morning?
This morning, the water is treated, especially on the main road and then in drains. You can see there's some water passing through, but the farms are still flooded, and so the crops are under water. Homes that were flooded to the water is gone, and just a few people, as at the time of leaving the community, had arrived back home because most of them slept elsewhere, and they had to seek shelter elsewhere because their homes were places they couldn't inhabit. And so right now, as we speak, just a few had come back. I met a couple, an elderly couple who said they slept in town and came in the night, noticed that the water had seeded, and they tried to do the cleaning, but it was a bit too late for them, so they had to go to sleep. And after the time I got there, they were up and about to start cleaning. But several homes yet are still to return to their base, and so you go to the gate and it's locked and no one is inside. Basically, it's been cloudy intermittently. We have had some few rains, but not as heavy as happened yesterday. And people are just hoping that the rains do not come heavy today. If not, it probably will be serious like yesterday.
So a lot of the residents have not been able to access their homes yet.
Yes, I knocked on more than 4 gates, and they were all locked. No one was inside. But you peep through and notice that the place is eventually locked and no one is inside. And there's a guest house around there, which the water entered through. They had to rescue some people around those areas. That place you can't even enter because there's no water in there. And there's a shop where they sell farm produce, especially fertilizer. It's also still locked. I mean, yesterday the water went through all those places. And so it was really a heavy one. And it might take a while before people would come back to these homes.
Okay, so the Ghana Meteorological, they are saying, GMET is saying that there's going to be some more rain starting from Thursday, so Thursday, Friday. What's happening in the region in terms of preparations towards that? How do you feel like the residents are going to get ready to be able to deal with more rain starting from Thursday?
Well, you speak to people and they really have thrown their hands in despair. They think that the drainage system in the whole town needs to be looked at again because they think there's a growing population and little is being done to improve the drainage system. And so they think yesterday's flood, if something major had been done on that part of that area, it could have averted a lot of the floods that happened. And so they are hoping that the authorities will begin going through these places to have a feel of the activities that go on in these areas themselves, and then they can advise government to have a better plan, especially when it comes to drainage in the metropolis.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Martina, and do stay safe out there.